Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of For What It's Nerd. Today, we are here to discuss Fantastic Four First Steps. Nate is with me today. Nate, hello.
Hello.
Hello. Nate's first time on the podcast. Welcome in,
Yes,
Nate. Thank you for
indeed.
being here. We were both really excited about Fantastic Four. So this is we're actually recording way earlier than I usually do. I usually record last thing on a Sunday before the time of the release. We're actually recording on Friday because we have so many opinions on this film and we haven't been able to talk to each other about it for 24 hours. And we were like, we have opinions. And it was like, hold them. So we're here.
It's nice to get them out fresh as well, isn't it? If you wait 3 or 4 days, you're going to see TikToks, you're going to see YouTube videos.
People already know.
It's nice to just get your opinions out before you
get sanitized by the media because it changes it, right? It changes how you perceive the film. So I think we so to clarify for you guys at home, we tried taking this already, but I actually lost Nate's audio. So we were just talking about the fact that we both kind of rated it about 7.5, and that we both thought that Superman was actually a little bit better than this movie. And we said it was kind of a little bit because of the fact that we had a lot of expectation with this movie. It had a really good social media run. Everyone's kind of been really positive towards this movie in terms of again, social media. The kind of hype for this movie has been mostly positive. So I think the way they've built up to this movie has actually let the movie down a little bit. They've actually done more work, as opposed to the Thunderbolts, which we also talked about for a second and said that that's kind of the opposite way around, right? The Thunderbolts was kind of this underdog movie and it did so well because of that. People went and watched it and were like, oh yeah, I'll watch it. And then oh my gosh, it's so good, right?
That'd be great. Yeah.
So that's sort of the little bit of the snippet that you guys maybe missed in the first cut there. I don't want to really tread all ground too much, but we were talking about visuals as well. We moved into visuals.
We said it's a good looking film for the most part.
Yeah.
There's just those couple of odd CGI bits, especially with we said about the Thing meeting Natasha Lyonne's character for the first time. Just looked green screen.
Yes,
kind of just
it did.
Odd.
Yeah,
It looked odd. And then obviously the baby
Franklin.
at the end of the film.
Yeah.
Franklin trying to crawl to his mum, and it just looked AI. It just didn't look real.
It looked slightly off.
It really took out of the that was supposed to be a really powerful moment. Emotional moment, and all I could think was, God, that baby looks fucking stupid.
But what I will say is, apart from those moments, very strong visually. The black hole sequence was when you see Shalabal pulled by the black hole.
Really cool.
That was really so cool. Yeah. And Galactus actually looked really good and believable as well.
Yeah. This is the best Galactus we've gotten.
Yeah, well, we've only had two, and the other one was a cloud, but very good. And actually, even though he said very little, that worked as well. But we'll get there. But,
he commanded those scenes.
Yeah, we'll get to that bit in a bit. Sorry, I'm jumping ahead. But CGI and stuff like that. Generally, I do think it was good. Even down to Mr. Fantastic, right? I really didn't feel like I disbelieved his powers at any point during this.
I loved that, actually, yeah. Which is a little bit disappointing that they thought they couldn't do that for Miss Marvel.
Yes.
Because they said that the stretching wouldn't look realistic.
Yeah, and it looked so good here. The part where you see him, the part where you see him in the third act, and he's weaving between the buildings and stuff.
Yeah.
And actually the way
climbing up Galactus and stuff, I was like, that was great.
And even the way they used his power against him in that part, and he was being pulled out. And like a piece of string, right? And it was I really did think, can I just say that I really did think they were going to do a topless Mr. Fantastic moment there. And I was really concerned that was where they were going with it. And I was like, please don't do that. Thank you.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I love Pedro Pascal. Yeah. But obviously he's got a reputation for being the sexy lead. I think they did it with The Last of Us season 2. I don't know if you've seen that, have you?
I haven't, but go ahead.
Okay. So The Last of Us season 2, the person who hates him most in the world calls him handsome and calls him sexy.
Okay.
And it's just really off-putting and out of place. And it's clear they did that because Pedro Pascal is hot and because social media knows that he's hot. So they went, let's put a little joke in about him being hot in here. And it just felt out of place. So I'm glad that they kept him as the scientist nerd that we've always known Reed Richards to be.
Yeah.
And I'm glad they didn't play too much on let's rip his shirt off and have Pedro Pascal doing like a hair flick, and I'm glad that they didn't.
Down to visuals though, because like he was, even those scenes, and we're going to go into this again. I'm trying to keep on the visual side for the moment, but the scene where you have Sue and Reed, and he's talking about all these eventualities that he plans out in his mind. Like, you have this kind of, you get this kind of character who's very weird, and not in a bad way, right? Like he's
flawed.
He's fundamentally, and like he even says that, right? And I really enjoyed that. We'll get into that. I'm trying, like...
we'll go back to it.
But visually, again, very stunning. I think the retro-futuristic vibe worked, and I actually...
I loved the retro-futuristic vibe.
Yeah, like, really good. It gave, like... It was giving Fallout, but obviously not Fallout, if you know what I mean. It was like, if the bombs didn't go off type thing, right?
It was interesting because it made it feel so... out of place, but also not out of place. Like you kind of just accepted that the fashion was like 70s, was it like 70s, 50s,
60s sort of vibe.
Yeah, it was just out of place, but also not out of place.
Yeah,
I think my only issue was so Johnny is he just cracks the language. And then when he flies through the city to take Silver Surfer with him and kind of like broadcast all these audios, that was like the push of one button. And I was like, how has he set this up? Like, he just cracked, like obviously he presses one button, everything works. I was like, okay, I get that we're like, obviously he's a man on fire. Like there's
we're already, there's a big giant man coming to attack the Earth, and
we can play a little bit, whatever. But it did take me a little bit to go. How has he set all that up in that short space of time, and then also just done it with one button? But I don't know. But for the rest of it, I was well on board.
Yeah, and I think we can kind of it's sort of adjacent to this, but it's not really visual. But the world building as this movie as well. That first part where, and I think it was really well done within the retro-futuristic vibe of, let's have this TV show where the Fantastic Four come on, and we're doing like this spotlight special on them, and it's like, this is what they've become, and like leading us into that backstory in a quick way. So we're not retreading all ground. And there's something I want to say about that again, regards the characters later on.
There's something I want to say about that regard to story, though. So we'll stick to visual for now, and then there is. I have my opinion on that bit.
Yeah, but like the fact that they did it and it felt so authentic to that time period.
100%.
And the fact that they used that as a vessel to kind of show, and I think this was the most comic booky part of it all, them fighting Mole Man, them fighting with the Red Ghost's apes in the beginning. That felt so like, they've been on all these adventures already, and like, it's a shame that we couldn't go on those with them, of course, but like, you couldn't make this movie 4 hours long, But but like, that was really cool to see. And I know they've cut scenes regarding some of those characters. There obviously clearly was a cut where they did kind of go into like a bit more on those. But it was really fun to see them kind of play with the time period that they were trying to set this in. And also, even though it's retro-futuristic, I don't think it's set in the 60s.
No,
I don't think it is. I think it's set in now, but it's a retro-futuristic world.
Yeah.
I think that's the majority. What actually, one point going back to the CGI comment, I didn't feel like Charlotte Ball, Silver Surfer, looked weird at any point. I think that was actually really well done CGI. Every single shot with Silver Surfer in was just impeccably done. I think because they knew they had to get her right even more so than the others, because she's metal, right? But it just looked great. It's
so easy to make her look like a PS2 character.
Yes, exactly.
And that's the thing. So we were going. I'm not sure if we said about this on this one or the
previous.
The previous
attempt.
Galactus looks fantastic. Like, Galactus is obviously CGI, and it kind of looked a little CGI, but I could forgive it because how do you make Galactus look not CGI within a real world? She at no point did I think she looked CGI.
No, she actually was believable. I know it
Yeah.
sounds weird, but it was believable. It was like, you've got this, like I was there with them when they said this metal person's come out of the sky. I was like, oh, and it's like, you just like instantly believe it. Like you're instantly there with them. But like, you are right in the sense of like, the only way you can make someone who's a huge man look not like CGI is to have a huge man do the part and then basically do someone at the perspective, right? Make someone larger, but then that's going to look weird, right? That's going to look even more weird, right?
Yeah.
So like, I think I kind of accept that you're going to have Galactus as CGI.
You accept, and also like, his face. He's a giant person. It's hard to make.
His face is different as well, and I think the uncanniness comes from, and again, this is a story beat, and I'm going to come back around to this again. Well, hopefully, if I remember, because there's that much to cover. But he is not from this universe. He was from a universe before this one, and that's a very big comic book detail that I do want to go back to. But that makes the Uncanny Valley a little bit more acceptable as well, right? Because he's not meant to be fully human, because he's not really. You know, so
yeah. I think she was probably and do you know, Human Torch's Flame's probably the best out of the Human Torches we've had.
Yeah, I'd say so as well.
Really good.
And the things
actually look like fire.
And the things rocks actually, like the rock itself looked believable. Like he himself looked believable, even when he looked out of the scene. The thing himself didn't look wrong, if that makes sense.
Yeah, correct.
And I also loved, and this is more of a sounds part of it, but I don't really cover sounds much on its own. But like when he was clapping or moving, and you heard the rocks, like that just really sold it to you. I know that sounds so silly, but it did. It did. You know, when he's clapping and you hear dunk 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 dunk, and it's like, yes, I love it. So,
and I wasn't a fan originally of his voice, because I wanted it to be a little
bit more gravelly.
I did get used to it towards the end when he's talking about his beard and he's like, oh no, the beard looks good, and he went, really? And I was like, that makes me. It makes him feel human. It makes him feel like Cousin from The Bear. If you haven't seen The Bear, go watch it, because
I haven't. But
the actor's in that as well, and he's got a very good sort of not sarcastic kind of humor, but maybe a bit dry.
Yeah,
but he's really good at that, and I think having him do that more in this was really selling him as a thing.
What I think is interesting about this version of the thing, and do you know what? We'll just go to character now. We'll just go there. Because I feel like we're getting into it. But like, what I think is interesting about this version of the thing is this version of thing is not a guy who's angry at the world. It's a guy who's sorrowful in himself. He is he's a soft, gentle person in this film who has had this life thrust upon him, and he's trying to deal with it as best he can, but he struggles with it at times. And that they don't say that in the movie, and that's actually really upsetting, because I think Thing was the one who needed more scenes in this movie than any of the other characters, because Johnny had his kind of subplot, and Thing's subplot was 2 scenes. But what was implied, and I think this is, I'll go on to this in a second once you have your say, but what was implied with Thing was that he was a very soft, intelligent, understanding character. You know, the fact that he is the one that susses out about Sue's pregnancy in that scene. He is that kind of switched on, intelligent guy. And I like that take on Thing, because so often we get, basically, he's like Hulk with rocks. And I don't love when they do that all the time, because he is such an emotionally deep character.
Yes,
you know?
and you touched upon it there, but I'm glad that he's intelligent, because the Thing is supposed to be intelligent. He's supposed to have I think he has a doctorate in like engineering.
Well, exactly. You know, he said
he's not dumb.
Sorry.
No, he's not dumb. Like you were saying, like they make him out to be like the Hulk, where he's just the big, I'm strong, I punch things. He's not. He's insanely intelligent. Like, he's not obviously like Reed Richards level.
No, but he is.
But
there's a reason he's the best of the best, like Reed says in the movie. They just so happened to be my family, but they were the most intelligent people in the world to go to space. Also the best. You know, So
it's like in previous iterations, we've got Johnny, who's just the hothead, bit of a himbo, stupid. He's got no brains there, but he's there because he's her brother. And then Sue, who I don't really remember her being that intelligent in the other iterations. Not
I feel like there were scenes, but I feel like they didn't
like
emphasize it because they were trying to emphasize how the thing is, and I think this is, and I feel like we're going to go around a few times on these characters and kind of go back and forth. But what I think is the movies in the past, Mr. Fantastic was the main character. Yeah. In this one, Sue is the main character. She is the heart of this film. And that is fundamentally what drives this film forward in this one, is that she is what's holding this all together. You know,
I kind of agree with you. I get towards the end, I feel like it's towards the end you realize she's the main character.
Yes.
But throughout the rest of the film, I think because number one, Reed is obviously introduced first in the film, and usually that kind of means this is the main character, let's follow them. But and obviously because we're so used to Reed being the main character,
we believe it. Yeah,
you kind of follow it a little bit, but there's no real main character through the film that you're focusing on.
No,
like I feel like the second Fantastic Four of Chris Evans ones. Johnny Storm is definitely the main character.
Well, yeah, because he ends up taking the whole powers, and that it's his big moment at the end. Yeah.
Whereas I didn't feel there was a main character through most of this film until towards the end, where Sue started stepping forward more, and then obviously she's the one that
there's that defining moment where she goes outside and she talks to the crowd. And by the way, can I just say that I didn't get in, like, what's the word? I didn't invest in that scene. I really didn't feel like that scene did what it wanted to do, because to me, I feel like the world should have gotten worse before that happened, if that makes sense.
100%.
I feel like there should have really been people trying to take Franklin or causing more issues, and then they have this response and they have to stop someone or something like that, and then there's this speech, and maybe she makes it across the world. I feel like doing it outside of the house.
Yeah, it was pointless. 100 people heard that.
Yeah, if that had been broadcast in front of like that Future Foundation, I think that would have sold the point, right?
Or even like they've got the flag up on the moon. Like if the consequences are that dire, I'm sorry, but like if someone was like, he wants my baby, or the whole planet's I'm gonna take that baby. Like you ain't stop. I'm doing whatever. I don't care what a man made of. I'm gonna do if you kill me, well, I'm gonna die anyway. So I'm gonna do what I can. I've nothing left to lose. I'm gonna do what I can to take that baby and give it to Galactus, right?
Yeah.
So like you've set up the moon as a place with stuff there.
Yeah.
Like get the world against them.
Yeah, I think it would have been.
We're in danger. Let's shift it, because I'm sorry, but like number one, I'm gonna say it. There is no way you're gonna get the entire world to switch off your power. That ain't ain't happening. And the entire world to agree on shit, and the entire world to be on your side.
Not without first having conflict. Like if you have the conflict first, I could have believed it more.
Yeah,
you know. Yeah. There's, for example, a very maybe a little bit of an obscure reference to use for this, but Star Trek. In Star Trek, the world gets to an enlightened point by the time you're watching, the show, right? The reason they did that was because they went through a whole thing called, I believe it was called the Eugenics War or something like that. And there was a whole big war that encompassed the world, and it was basically like every world government was basically destroyed and everything like that, right? And so because of that, you can believe that actually something good came out of that, and the world kind of banded together because the conflict happened first, right? But this movie didn't feel like it had conflict in quite that way.
It didn't feel like it had conflict.
No.
At all.
Yeah.
Other than Galactus. That was the only real conflict they had. Otherwise, they went, guys, we're back home. By the way, Galactus is going to kill you all.
And it's because we didn't give our son. Yeah.
Oh, no, that's really bad. Are we safe? I don't know. And then, it didn't really specify how long a time period it was, but if you were the government, you'd be like, cool, all those prisoners that they've rounded up and arrested with all these superpowers and stuff, we're gonna send those people to take that baby.
Amanda Waller situation, right?
They're gonna do that.
Yeah. I personally I personally think that again, there's so much to discuss there. I personally think that this movie should have actually been bolder in terms of its story choices.
Yeah.
One thing as well, I actually think, and it's kind of the opposite side of this, is once that stuff did happen with the teleporters, I think they should have been bold enough to go, right, okay, do you know what we're fucking going to do? We're going to have them beat Galactus halfway through the movie and do something else. And have them teleport somewhere else and have some other fucking threat come and knock on their door. And I think that would have actually been really cool to kind of really twist the movie, right? The Galactus is actually just the first act, you know?
Yeah.
Or maybe it's like maybe that's that like they move, but like somehow, you know, there's some kind of time warp between, and Galactus ends up coming back but in a different way or something. Just something. I feel like the teleporting thing should have happened. I feel like it was a promise given to you on a platter. The worlds work together, and then you're meant to feel dread at that. And I get at that's the point. You're meant to feel the dread of it not working. But I think it would have almost been more insane if they started to, and as well, we know they're moving towards Secret Wars, and what is Secret Wars? Two Earths colliding in the comics. So like it's right there, and like, but like I just feel like they should have done something with it.
I thought when they were talking about moving the Earth, I was like, oh, maybe it's going to go wrong. Maybe they're going to end up in our universe, and Galactus are going to follow them through, and that's what's soon.
I still think Galactus is going to come back because A, Galactus does not die in this movie. B, Galactus is actually a very important part of the Secret Wars storyline. He is in that comic. In the original comic from like I forget when it was. There's two Secret Wars storylines, and Galactus is actually very important to the first. And so I can see us seeing Galactus again. But I just think what a subversion it could have been if you see them escape Galactus and then you introduce something totally separate as the second issue of the movie. And I just think, if you started the Doom stuff a little bit earlier, that could have actually been really cool. Especially because you see that Latveria seat very early on in the movie. I know it's somewhat meant to be like a cameo thing, but you could have easily played that up to be like, oh no, Latveria are not present here and they are not helping. But
then also, they're not helping, and we know that Doom is usually the leader of Latveria and everything. Yeah. But then you kind of think okay, so the entire planet has helped out with switching power off and building teleporters. Did Latveria?
Yeah. Also,
we don't know that.
You want to know what happened. What does this world look like apart from the Fantastic Four? Does Wakanda still exist? Because if it does, did they help at all? Because like Wakanda is actually Wakanda is relevant in Fantastic Four comics. Wakanda shows up in the Fantastic Four comics way back. Like that's where Black Panther first showed up. So like,
so you'd think then, like you were saying about the world building. The world building is great for the villains and the Fantastic Four story.
Yeah,
but I think the world building, like the rest of the world and the universe building. Yeah. What else is? Are there any other superheroes? Are there the X-Men there? You know, is anything else
happening there?
Around? You know?
Yeah, and I think the idea is probably not. But if it's meant to be a parallel Earth, which it essentially is, you would argue that most of the nations that would exist still exist. At least. Yeah. So, you know. Anyway, that's maybe a little bit too nitpicky, a little bit too granular. But what I want to go back to, I actually think, despite the fact that maybe those character moments aren't there where we like, I think that these are the definitive versions of these characters. I think everyone acted those roles to a level that we've not seen them acted before on screen.
For me, it felt like a sequel.
It does feel like that. It does feel like that, actually. Yeah,
because so much has happened before this film. It felt like a sequel because the characters were kind of already done.
They've already done all this.
With those initial like character arcs that we've seen in the other films. You know, like the Thing coming back and going, "Oh, I hate how I look," and blah blah blah. Although obviously they still got that now. But it seems like he's dealt with the initial like thing, which is great because you know we've seen the origin twice.
Yeah, it's hard, but
we know it.
But the thing is, have we? Because no one really watched the Fantastic Four 2015. Like, let's be real, no one really cared about that. And the ones before that, they're a long time ago. And also, this isn't Spider-Man. This isn't like Spider-Man.
Is the Fantastic Four iconic enough to, in general media, not just obviously they are iconic, the thing, but are they iconic enough in general media that we don't need their origin story as a film?
I don't even think it's necessarily iconic enough, because I think iconic, a lot of people, I've spoken to a lot of people who are a little bit older than like the typical moviegoer, and they do know the Fantastic Four. They watched the TV show when, like, the cartoon when they were younger and stuff like that. So like the brand is big. I think what the issue is when you've only put it to screen properly once. And then sort of the second time was a reimagining anyway. When you've only put it to screen once, I think you should do it again. I think what you should actually do is what I think would have been better is if the first part of this. Think of it this way: imagine if they'd done the space mission first, right? Imagine if they'd done like the cosmic ray shit, and then imagine the movie starts on that, and imagine about 20 minutes in, it pulls out of that. It does the Fantastic Four logo like they did in the movie anyway. But then it goes like not pixelated, but like grain. And then you pull out and it's the TV show, right?
Yeah.
And then it's like the Fantastic Four went through all this, the mission logs, and then they go like blah, blah, blah. And then they say like, since then, the Fantastic Four has been up to blah, 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 and then like rhyme it off and do exactly the same thing, but give that 20 minutes at the beginning of the film. And I don't think this film would have hurt from having another 20 minutes on it, to be honest with you. To start it off like that.
My biggest issue was probably that is that intro, because and it was great, and I was like, cool, this is what they've been up to. But the movie, once that was over, once the introduction was over, the movie didn't start, and that was that was the first thing I said to Lily after we came out of the cinema. Is I was waiting for the movie to start the entire way through the movie until Galactus arrived, and then I was like, right, now we're in the movie.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
It was a lot of world building because they felt they had to, because it was a different world.
Yeah.
I think I did like the world building. I did enjoy it.
Yeah.
But I think there was a lot of moments, and don't get me wrong, I think if you'd made this a TV show, and I know that sounds like not something that I would want. I think they are a movie franchise set of characters, but I think if you'd made this a TV show, like a Saturday morning TV show, funnily enough, it would have worked, right? I think you had that little bit more of like there's
like a little bit more family friendliness to it that would definitely work for Saturday morning.
Yeah, I think for me, what I found is that a lot of the scenes in this are pretty emotionally charged and pretty character driven, rather than like action and like grandiose and like to the point where I feel like you could actually have sort of made this into a limited run TV show, and it actually could have worked pretty well. And like, even
because they could have deep dived into those characters more.
I think that and I think maybe that's something that Marvel needs to understand sometimes. Some of these characters, like Daredevil, for example, Daredevil is such a morally complex character that he needs to be a TV show. Yeah, there's certain characters like that. Punisher, I think you can make Punisher movies, but I think Punisher is better in a setting where you can dig into those morals, right? I think the Fantastic Four is the same way. You want to build this sense of family, and the only way you can do that is prolonged exposure to them. A movie doesn't really cut the family vibe in my head. But I do fundamentally think that each of the characters are the best versions of those characters we've seen put to screen at the same time. One thing I do want to say, though, and I actually really was annoyed by this, and I think it's such a fundamental part of Ben's character again, but that was omitted, is that I really don't like Natasha Lyonne's new character. Not that I dislike her as the character and the character itself, but it is no Alicia Masters. And that is an important part of Ben's story. The fact you have a woman who is blind, who fundamentally doesn't care about what he looks like, and loves him as he is, and for the human he is. And maybe that's maybe on some level what they're going for is the idea that there's someone here who sees him as he is and doesn't care still. But I think the whole blindness part is love is blind is like such a powerful concept for Ben.
And I think
the fact that they just got rid of Alicia in these movies, someone who Ben is so intrinsically linked to in my mind. It would be like taking it. It would be like, and I know they did MJ a little bit different in the MCU, but it'd be like taking MJ away from Spider-Man. Or it would be like taking away Sue from Mr. Fantastic. Like in my head, that's the same thing. You know, you can't have one without the other.
Love story between the two,
and so like even the fact that eventually in the comics they adopt 2 children together, and like they have this family, even though they're kind of that was never meant to be for them, and which is kind of interesting as a parallel.
Because 100%. No, I completely agree with you. I think, and we're now back on the thing, but I think he needed so many more. Yeah. He needed more depth to his character. He was kind of just like it was almost like you said, like there's a couple of scenes where he was looking in the reflection and seeing his face before, and it was like those moments where it's like, oh, we're hinting towards those things, but we're not actually gonna like discuss them.
This movie is heavily about implication rather than actually doing it.
It was a lot of stuff happened, but also really not much happened.
Can I say something that I actually think is very important and I think is a really good show of character, is that the way they did Sue's anger in this movie as well.
Yeah.
The fact that she had anger, because what you'll find is, and a lot of people play, like when you read a comic or you play a game that Sue is in, they think, oh, Sue's like your everyday mother. She's like soft and innocent and sweet. And she's actually not. Like if you read some of the comics, she will kill for her children.
Savage, yeah.
She has told Wolverine before, when he infiltrated the Baxter building, she literally said to him, I could literally pop you from the inside out right now. I could make you blind. I could make you blind if I wanted to right now. Like, and she just like, and the fact that they gave that moment to her at the end with Galactus.
Oh yeah.
That was my favorite part of the movie, if I'm being completely honest.
You really get the mother protecting her child.
Yes. It's that adrenaline vibe, isn't it? It's that idea that people say, oh, in real life, someone, if you need to, you will, so that's kind of like, I really like that concept. I think seeing, and a lot of people are joking about how the fact she did that, she bent backwards the same way that Wanda does.
Yeah. Right back.
She did the Wanda bend.
That was really fucking cool.
It was.
I was like, oh, she's
still going. Yeah,
she's still there.
But yeah. So I think Stu is the strongest character in this movie, if I'm completely honest. But that's obviously going to be the case because the movie ends up tending towards her.
Yeah, 100%, and I completely agree. I think I would have liked more, and this is why I think they miss, because we haven't got the depth into the characters. When they're having the emotional scenes of the debate of, you definitely just thought about sacrificing our son, I didn't feel the emotion and the tension, because like, I don't know. It was just lacking in just something where I needed more conflict. Yeah, because she was like, "You thought about it." And he was like, "No, I didn't." And she was like, "You did, because I know you." And it became like, sorry, my mic's cut out. It became like a conversation rather than like
something happening,
an argument of conflict and tension. Give me that, like, because it's the film is the trolley problem. Do you sacrifice one to save the many? It's the trolley problem, and and especially a baby, because then you're looking at
someone innocent.
You sacrifice an innocent for the sake of a lot of bad people, and that's what, like you said, when like having the conflict of people turning against them in a harsher way, that could have been even more reason to go.
I genuinely thought
saving my baby.
I genuinely thought the Baxter building was going to be infiltrated at some point. I genuinely thought
it was going to be the case. Do something.
I genuinely thought, and I would have loved that, because like that's, and I think that would have been a good way of leading up to Sue's powers as well, seeing something where she really went off on one, and like she was going crazy against this person, and like. Then she realized this is not the way we should be doing this. And then that would have been much better of a way, right? And if she then made the Future Foundation statement and then said, like, we need to do this together, we need to work together. And then maybe not everyone agrees still, but you've got a lot more of the world on side. I think saying the whole world is sort of the silly part of that.
But it's part of the reason I love Spider-Man so much is New York hates him a lot of the time.
He is ragged on.
Everyone fucking
constantly.
hates him.
Yeah.
He just keeps going. He saves them anyway, despite, like, there was a comic where he saves someone and the man gets up and goes, "You just stole my wallet." And he's like, "No, I obviously didn't. Like, I just stopped you getting hit by a bus." And he's like, "Nah, get him. He stole my wallet." Like, doesn't actually care that he's been saved. He just wants to fight. Like, he just hates him that much. And I would have loved to have seen
just a little bit more
family of superheroes that has been so admired at the start of the film. They've got their own show and they've got the cartoons and they've got this big, it's their 4-year anniversary, we love them so much, to then go, we're gonna kill them because they won't save us and we hate them and we want nothing. Like, what a turn of,
and then coming back from
actually,
that.
And then you know, like, really going at them and then being reminded why the family is so important to them and why we're all so important to each other. And that's the kind of, like, speech she was going for, but it didn't hit because we didn't have the enough conflict before that.
And you know what I think is really interesting is this movie, whilst different on many levels, if you compare it to Superman, there are a lot of similar themes and a lot of similar ideas going on here. The reputation of characters, what are they here for? What are they doing? Do they have our best interests at heart? And I think Superman did that better, actually. You know, you see these moments where he's...
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah? Can you hear me? Sorry, no, my computer went to sleep, so... I missed what you said, I'm so sorry.
It's okay, it's okay. I was saying that I think, compared to Superman, who has that movie has a lot of similar themes. You know, the idea of redemption and the idea of, like, your public opinion and the idea of saving people and making and evacuating the city. Even I was thinking this is exactly like Superman, but they did it better because what they did was they really brought him to a law. They really brought him to a law, and that's hard to do for a character who's meant to be invincible. By the way, and they did it. They made you feel like he was beatable within that movie.
Yeah, and that's the one thing I've never liked Superman because in my head he's this unbeatable, invincible person. So what's the point of watching him if he can't lose?
Yeah.
But that film, they made him lose. A lot.
He lost first thing on the screen is him losing. Which was actually very brave.
And I love that, and that's what I want more of in superhero films. I don't want to see the superheroes win all the time.
It's because people are obsessed with this power scaling thing that people do now, where they're like, "Oh, who's the strongest?" Like they've got to be super strong. And it's not about that. Like the heroes were never about that. The heroes are about saving people, no matter the cost to them. Like that's what a hero is. I completely agree, and I think that's where the Fantastic Four missed out on a trick of having. Yeah, they technically lose when they go and see Galactus, and then they're sent packing. But it seemed like they were really unsure of how deep to go with the aggression against the heroes. And like everything just seems so hopeful. I think they wanted a movie that appealed to hope because they knew it was going up against like Superman. And I know that sounds weird, but I think they did. I think they wanted that. But on the opposite hand, I think they wanted a movie that didn't go too far in. They wanted this to be a very safe movie. What I mean by that is Thunderbolts did a lot more. I know they didn't actually kill the kid, but they basically made you think that they killed the kid at some point in Thunderbolts. And then this movie, like, you see Galactus like rip up the tower, in the Baxter Building, and you know Franklin's safe in his hand.
Because he wants him.
But still, you know he's safe, and it's like I understand. That you don't want, but like there should be something, you know, there should be some kind of. But what I will say, actually, I think I actually really like the way they played Galactus in this regards his motive. I actually think his motive was really cool.
Oh my god, give him motive! Thank God. He's not just some dude who wants to eat a planet.
Well, Galactus has never been that in the comics either, because Galactus really doesn't want to be doing this. It is just a hunger that has been bestowed upon him from the previous galaxy that existed. He was the last person to survive, essentially, and became Galactus. And that's a cycle. it's basically sort of Galactus is basically an allegory for the fact that stars will die and worlds will die. He's an allegory for that in a sense, right? He is meant to say that there's a cycle to life, and sometimes that's the nasty part of it. He's not dissimilar to someone like Hela. Hela has to exist. There has to be a death. That's that sort of thing. He's a cosmic entity, so you can't really ascribe good or bad to him. But in this, actually, he is a little bad because he actually just wants to get out of his torment, right? Yeah. What I think would have been better, though, and this is how I know I've said about how would have started the movie regards to Fantastic Four, but I actually would have loved to see where you see Galactus as a human. And see at the beginning of the movie, and you know how they do those exposition scenes at the beginning of a movie? Sometimes it's like the world started like this, and I kind of almost wish you had a moment where Shalabal at the beginning of the movie heralds Galactus, so to speak, and explains what is Galactus, how has Galactus come to be, and then even before the movie starts that Galactus is coming, and you build tension from the off. Because Galactus is coming, even though our heroes don't know about him yet.
And that starts the movie.
Yeah, I really would have loved that.
100% agree, yeah.
I really would have loved a moment where you see a universe dying, essentially. And Shalabal starts talking about this guy who becomes something he doesn't want to be, which is very parallel to her, right? Becomes something he doesn't want to be. And how that changes him over time and what he becomes. And then you see, and then destroy a world right at the beginning of the movie. And then you've got the stakes right there. Bam, done. Yeah. And then you can drop into...
This guy can destroy a planet. Yeah. He can destroy a planet. We know that.
And then we go. And then you can literally, even if you didn't want to do the stuff about the space... well, you could actually, because you could sort of do it as pan across space and go 20 years... not 20 years, 4 years earlier or something like that. Or 4 years later or something like that, however you want to do it. Because 4 seems to be a big part of this movie. But obviously. But I just think the way that they did it, I get it. They wanted to get right into the Franklin stuff. I get it.
Yeah. And that's what this movie feels like, is when we need Franklin Richards in the film, in the MCU. Cool. How can we do that? Just skip everything. We're going to jump into Franklin Richards. Sue Richards is pregnant.
Yeah,
it just felt like some Marvel exec went, right, well, we need Doomsday and Secret Wars.
That's the issue.
Cool. Yeah, Franklin Richards is part of maybe an important part of that. Right, how do we get Franklin Richards in without a TV show that no one wants to watch anymore, or how do we do that? Just throw him in the sequel of Fantastic Four, but we haven't done the first one.
It does feel like, and how do I put this? It does feel like it's done specifically with Doomsday in mind, and that let's just talk about that for a quick second. Obviously, that is exactly what's happening because of the post-credits scene, right?
The post-credits scene, yeah.
And what I think you can argue is that post-credits scene ties into the fact that this Doom is probably from our universe and is stealing Franklin for some reason, and the Fantastic Four chase him back to our universe, and thus the Thunderbolts scene at the end of the movie. That's what I have to assume. But what I would say is I think adding Franklin as a character is actually very smart. I think it changes the game versus the previous Fantastic Four films. What I don't think I love is the fact that means we're so deep into like we've said throughout this, we're so deep into Fantastic Four lore already. If they built up to it a little bit more, it would have been perfect. But
that's what Marvel have been missing for a long time, is the slow build. Yeah. And yes, they've been slow building recently, but they're building too slow recently.
Yeah, that's actually what I think. I actually think they've been slow building since Endgame. All these parts that it's not even slow building. It's taking a piece from every jigsaw puzzle you've ever had and knowing you can't put them together. Because there's so many parts, like Moon Knight has not been in anything else and has not interacted with any of the characters. And regardless of what you say about cameos, or regardless of what you say about needing to watch 10 projects to understand something, the MCU is predicated on the fact that it is connected. That's how they advertised it when it first started. That is what it is, and a lot of these characters are not connected to any of this, you know.
And I think what they've been doing is introducing characters and giving them a TV show and giving them all, like, just throwing out characters and giving them their whole show. Do you remember how they introduced Doctor Strange?
It was at the end of Thor, wasn't it? Oh, no, the beginning of Thor.
Oh, wait. What are you thinking?
Because isn't he in Thor Ragnarok?
Oh, no. So fucking before that.
All right, okay.
Winter Soldier.
Oh, yeah, and they said about the list.
We keep track of everyone, blah, blah, blah. Stephen Strange, bam. Doctor Strange is in the universe. We don't need to we know he's in the universe now, so there's not really like... Yes, we have films with them and stuff, but...
Yeah.
They can just do that. They can just throw a name out, and that character is now canon in the universe. Like, we don't need all of these TV, which obviously now they've realized that, and we don't need all of these TV shows.
But I mean, Ironheart's an example of that. And don't get me wrong, I am somewhat interested. I know we've talked about this off camera, so to speak. But Sacha Baron Cohen as Mephisto is not the best casting, but I was interested in seeing Mephisto on screen. But he didn't need to be. If he was never on screen, I don't think I'd have been upset about it. I think hearing his name was enough for me and Agatha. But... yeah, you're exactly right. Does every character need to show up? Maybe not. Maybe we need to streamline it slightly. And understand that some characters can just show up in other projects, right? So, like I think that's why I like what Spider-Man does a lot. And I know a lot of people don't like the fact that Spidey doesn't get his own standalone movie. But I actually like the fact that Spider-Man's movie has always had another MCU character involved in it. Because what I feel like is it's like an actual comic book, right? Because you have... team-ups in comic books all the time. You'll have a random issue of Captain America where Emma Frost turns up. You'll have a random issue of Iron Man where you have an X-Man show up for whatever, or something like that, you know? And I think the fact that even like Brand New Day that's going to be coming out next year is going to have the Hulk and Punisher in it, apparently. That's like insanely cool. What do you mean? A Spider-Man with Hulk and Punisher in it? That sounds insane. Like I'm there. I'm sat. You know,
I do. However, I do really want a solo Spider-Man movie of street level Spider-Man.
Well, it is meant to be more street level this one, but I get what you mean in terms of the fact that they're still in it. But
I have the Punisher in it. I think that because the Punisher is also street level.
Yeah,
you know, that's that. I actually don't disagree with that. I think the Hulk being in it is. But he's got to have an Avenger in it.
It depends on how. It depends on how you. Well, it's not necessarily an Avenger, but it has to be like a staple MCU character. I'm pretty sure, as far as I'm aware. But like, what I would say is that how do I put it? Hulk is not as cosmic as people think he is. Like or not as world. Like if you think about Hulk in his, early days in comics, he wasn't that. He's just like this big brute who walks around. Like a lot of those early comics are really street level, actually. And even, the Hulk had a TV show back in the day, and that was relatively mundane for the most part. Not in a bad way, in the way of like the Hulk, his villains actually aren't cosmic by nature so I think it depends on how you play the Hulk. And if you go back to the kind of roots of the Hulk where he has fought the Fantastic Four and he has fought like Spider-Man, and like Wolverine, like it makes perfect sense to me. It's very like low level. If you don't include the Sakaar stuff, you don't include the if you don't include the Avengers stuff, he's actually he can be somewhat quote unquote street level, if you know what I mean. But I get your point. I do get where you're coming from. That Spider-Man on his own.
But the Hulk we've got now, the current MCU Hulk is obviously cosmic. Smart Hulk, and he's.
I think they're going to revert that. I personally think they're going to revert that. I don't know why. I just have a feeling. But we shall see about that one.
Anyway. Speaking of Spider-Man, actually, before we move on from Spidey. So I'm not huge on the Fantastic Four comics, but I do know that when Spider-Man joins them, they are
Yeah.
the Future Foundation.
Yes.
So as soon as they mentioned Future Foundation, I was like, oh my god, what if Spidey has found a family? What if Spidey can find a family in this Fantastic Four? And
I wouldn't be surprised if something like that
after
actually happened.
I love that.
But what I think you're going to find is, because I very much think it's going to go the way of the DC did with their Crisis on Infinite Earths. And basically, I think at the end of this, you're going to find that after Doomsday, there is a new Earth formed, and it's going to have the continuity. And I think a lot of the heroes will remember the stuff that's gone on that do survive. But I think you're going to find that there might be a new Captain America, or there might be a new Iron Man, or there might be a new...
Well, that's what they've said, isn't it? That they're, after Secret Wars, they want to kind of do and I think they
a soft reboot within reason.
They need one. But I don't think they need to do all the stories again. I think they need to force
the world forward.
Establish what has happened so far within what is canon.
Yeah.
You know, what is Iron Man a thing? You know, all these things. Kind of find a way to establish that so we know where we sit, we know where we are with characters, and then start doing. Just give it a break, and then start doing films again.
Yeah.
Without all this like origin stories and this and that, and
it can become a lot more like episodic in a way, rather than I do think you have the potential, because the thing is, what you can do is, if you do a world reset like that, you can have the X-Men, you can have the Fantastic Four and the Avengers all occupy one world, and that is a very interesting concept, right?
And that's what everyone has kind of been wanting since maybe
Endgame.
Ultron era.
Well,
and then
Endgame's when you knew it was going to happen, though. I feel like at that point you knew like Fox was being merged with, you knew that was going to happen. I think
when we were younger in 2012, when we were the Avengers, you kind of like, ooh, maybe they'll get the X-Men and maybe this, because you didn't really know about the contracts and the business side of things, because we were kids, we didn't fucking care about that.
Yeah, that's true.
We just want to see our favorite superheroes, and then we see Spider-Man pop in, and we go, oh my god, Spider-Man
really actually changed the game, because everyone really thought Spider-Man would never show up in an MCU movie, and here he is. Like that, I remember seeing that trailer and everyone being like, oh, what? Yeah. You know?
Yeah. And then the film was let down. But anyway,
but yeah,
it would be very interesting to see this Fantastic Four become the
Fantastic Four of the universe that ends up being. I mean, I almost definitely think it's going to happen. You know, the fact that
that's also the problem with it being in another universe for me, is that I don't care.
Yes, to a degree. Silly, but no, I get you.
It's happening somewhere else. It's not happening here. So
that's why you don't necessarily get the investment in that Earth as much as you would, because you know it's going to change to a degree very soon.
And because of the Thunderbolts after credits, when you see that ship coming in, everyone went, "Oh, they're obviously going to lose to Galactus. Then they're going to come to our universe."
I was surprised by that.
That was
actually.
on my mind.
I was surprised.
That was on my mind.
Yeah. I was surprised that didn't happen. Actually,
yeah.
I genuinely thought they were going to lose, and that would be so. But wouldn't that be such a good? Wouldn't it? I know, like, obviously, do you know what? And this is another point. I'm going to make one and then I'm going to jump into another. I think it would have been such a good point to have them defeated at the end of the movie. I think that would have been such an interesting take if their success was getting away. That would have been an interesting take for a movie. But I think that only works. This would work better if this movie came out and Doomsday was in 6 months.
Yeah.
I think that even is still true. I think that is even still true, because I feel like this movie is, I know you've said it feels like a sequel. I feel like it's the first act of a much bigger play. If that makes sense.
Of Doomsday.
Yeah. And I feel like once Doomsday and Secret Wars come out, this is going to be like the prologue to those, you know? And I feel like that's my issue, personally, is that this movie doesn't feel like it's really ended in a good place, because you get hungry when you're this close to the end of the storyline, right? And I feel like, you know, now needing to wait 1.5 years before we get the next part of the story is the sort of real kicker for me.
Yeah.
So, because, you know, we're not even getting another, and this is obviously I'm kind of happy with this from like a quality standpoint, but we're not going to have another Marvel movie for, it's just over 1 year now. It's the 31st of July that Spider-Man Brand New Day is like signaled for that's the next MCU movie now. So like that's like a whole year away and a bit.
Yeah.
Never mind Doomsday thereafter.
I really hope that the Spider-Man film has no impact on Avengers Doomsday.
I don't think it's going to. I really don't think it's going to. I think the only thing you might see is like a post-credit scene if Spidey ends up being in that. But I don't think, and maybe it's like Strange coming back for Spidey or something like that. But I don't even think that. I don't even think it's going to be that. I think what you're going to find is I think Spidey this time is going to be the Ant-Man movie, right? Is that like Ant-Man's just out of the picture for this? Like Spider-Man's going to be the same way in this one. I think.
Where is he? Why is he here?
Mm-hmm. I think that's what it's going to be. I don't know whether that's going to hold true or not. We'll see. But I mean, what's going to be interesting as well is obviously. A lot of actors are sort of saying they're retiring from acting at the moment. I know Michael Douglas has just said it, so I'm wondering what they're going to do. And Evangeline Lilly said it a few years back. So speaking of Ant-Man, funnily enough, how's that going to work out? How I know Chris Hemsworth is meant to be kind of taking a little bit more of a backseat regards his movies and stuff. So how is that going to work out? For this new universe?
I think that's part of this whole reboot after Secret Wars thing. It needs to, we haven't got the same actors anymore doing these characters, and we can't really go, cool, we'll just replace Thor.
No.
You can't at the moment, but if you reset everything, then of course you can replace Thor. You can replace Loki if needs be. You can replace the people that don't want to be involved anymore, and I think that is more understandable than just resetting it and restarting it. And
I don't want it to be. How do I put this? I don't want the MCU to have meant nothing. If that makes sense. I want us to get to a point where the MCU is started afresh, but very similar to how they did it with the X-Men stuff. And not saying the X-Men stuff is always good, but it still was relevant. Because that some of those characters had been through the events of the previous iterations, so to speak. So I feel like if we have, for example, this, I mean, they're not going to cast this Fantastic Four, then get rid of them after one movie. So like this Fantastic Four, Sam's Captain America, Yelena, Bob.
I can't see a lot of them sticking around. Though.
No, but like
Sebastian Stan.
I think he's on his. Well, I think he's probably on his way out.
Yeah, he's got to be because he's been in it since what? When did Captain America come out? Like 2000 something?
2008 or something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's
2009.
I think the characters that have been in it for a long time. I'm tempted to even say Florence Pugh. I feel like the characters that have been in it for a long time are gonna start jumping ship because I think there's a lot of negative talk around Marvel films these days anyway, and actors are they wanted to be in it originally. They started getting every fucker in it just because they were there. People wanted to be in the MCU, but then it started to go. Do you not think though that everyone's negative about everything these days? Like not to go into like a big side argument, but like for example, there's been a new screenshot dropped of the next Avatar show, and everyone's saying Avatar's gone woke, and you look at Avatar, and it's always been relatively progressive. You look at Superman there, people are hating on it just because they're part of the Snyder cult. It feels like every day you're seeing lies about one thing or another, and I don't want to go into that big but I feel like the reason people don't like Marvel now is because it makes them money. A lot of these people online. But then you have all that negative views and what was that director, the fucking Ponzi one who said that Marvel movies are like a theme park.
You mean
his name.
Crazy. Yeah, which I sort of agree with.
I get that, and but you know what? It's entertainment, still art. Fuck you. But we're not getting to that. But my point was I'm trying to say that. There are actors who wanted to be a superhero, wanted to be in the MCU specifically because it was so big and because it was doing so well, to then it not doing as good as an actor. You kind of go, ooh, is that a bit of is that going to be bad for my reputation? Is that maybe I don't do that?
Yeah,
and then okay, so I've got a contract for 3 years. I kind of want to explore other things. Like, there's a lot of actors that go, cool. Like Chris Evans, he goes, cool, yeah, I've done Captain America. I've told his story. I've told those stories. I'm done with that. Yeah. I want to tell other stories. Of course you would, because actors are real people. They you know, they've got their own thoughts. They don't want to just be that one superhero for 50 years.
What I would say though is, and this is very well. But what I would also actually say is, the opposite is true as well. Marvel has gifted a lot of people their careers, and once they've left Marvel, they have not done as well. Like Chris Evans, I'm not being not in a horrible way. I don't think I've seen anything he's been in. Well, Knives Out, I did, and that was good. But I don't think I've seen anything that he's been in that I thought, oh, I want to watch that, or I'm interested in that. And not to say that means that he's in bad stuff, but I'd just saying.
The same for Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, I mean, he was good in Oppenheimer. I really liked him in Oppenheimer. But apart from that, I wouldn't, I don't know anything else he's been in. Oh, in fact, I do. That horrible Mr. Doolittle movie they did.
Was that after Endgame, though?
Yeah, it was.
Really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was.
But yeah. I get what you're saying.
So what I guess I'm trying to say is, people are saying Marvel isn't good quality, but there's a lot of bad quality movies out there at the moment. And I feel like, I feel like we're in a better phase now, not to use the word phase as in regards to Marvel, but I feel like we're in a better place now. I feel like movies are a little bit more highbrow again. You're getting good movies coming out relatively frequently now. There's a lot more. I think it's diversifying a little bit more again. And actually, I will say, and I'm very glad that Superman's actually somewhat of a better movie than Fantastic Four in one sense, because it means that Marvel is still going to keep driving themselves forward. It's really good to have competition. and Marvel did not have competition for a long time.
Yeah.
Not even with Star Wars, right?
No.
Even with themselves, they didn't have competition, because once upon a time you would have there was a point in 2019 where you had Endgame, Deadpool 2, and Solo coming out the same week, pretty much.
Yeah.
And that was don't get me wrong, some of those movies weren't necessarily as good as others, but that was where we were at. And then you look at now, apart from the Batman that came out, DC hadn't put anything substantial out that was worthwhile. And regards Star Wars hasn't put a movie in theaters for years. Since 2019 as well, I think.
Yes, they had the
free reign of the box office for that year. And so what are you going to do? Well, phone it in, because you don't need to do much.
Well, what they did was they'll go, we'll just throw as much as we can.
Yeah.
We'll capitalize on this gap in the market of superhero stuff. Obviously, we had the Boys TV series, which is good, but that isn't really in competition with Marvel either, really, I don't think, because when people want something gritty, they go there. When they want something fun, they go to Marvel, in my opinion. Also, superheroes are inherently, they're not just for kids, don't get me wrong, but they're originally for kids.
Yeah.
They're in comic books, and you get the Boys, and you go, well, that's not for kids, so there's a limit on an age range of that target audience there. Whereas Marvel can go, cool, we'll just throw out as many shows as we can.
Yeah.
Just to make sure that we're the only thing that people are watching. Yeah. And then that's when it started going, obviously, downhill.
To circle us back down to Fantastic Four, though, because I feel like we've got a little bit off, is I will but I think it's good. I think when you're talking about the MCU, you have to talk about the whole thing, right? Because it is all the same thing. This is Act 23 of however long,
Yeah.
So what I would say is that I still believe that 7.5 score. I think everything we discussed on one level or another would have brought it up a little bit. But I still believe that this is in the same quality bracket as Thunderbolts, if that makes sense. I don't think that this is a worse, technically speaking, movie than Thunderbolts.
It's just a strange film. Yeah. It's strange, I think. And it felt very comic booky.
Yes.
I nailed it for that, but it didn't feel very superhero.
Yeah, I kind of get you. Yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah, it felt like a serial. It felt like It felt like, how do I put this? It felt almost like an episode of Black Mirror.
Yeah. Do
you know what I mean? As in
until the end, you're watching it going, I wonder what's, and then you go to the end and go, oh wow, that was
Yeah, because it's meant
the
to be.
The rest of it wasn't great.
Yeah, because it's meant to be like alternate reality, but it's also meant to be like the same world. It's speculative fiction almost. That's what it is.
It's strange when they do it like that, when they go, cool, this alternate world, they've got flying cars and they've got this futuristic device, but also there's a bit of retro stuff. Cool.
Yeah.
But also everything else is exactly the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you mean? Everything else is exactly the same. Like, it's that, and that's what's maybe I get when I've said about all the countries working together isn't realistic. Maybe this world it is realistic because but I do agree that they need a lot more conflict against them throughout, because there are so many scenes of sitting and thinking and discussing what to do and discussing, and then they sit and think and then they discuss.
It's hard because the Fantastic Four. The Fantastic Four is a more cerebral team than all the other teams. Yeah. Because they're four thinkers, essentially. They are. You know, you've got Reed and Sue and Johnny. Even in this movie, they went a little bit more into that vein with Johnny as well.
And we haven't touched much upon
Johnny.
Johnny, and I've wrote a note for. I didn't like him, but I also really liked him, and I was really unsure of, because he seemed very awkward at times, and it seemed very Eddie Munson.
Yes.
I'm a bit of a nerd, bit of a geek, but also I'm cool and I'm hot. And then I just really couldn't grasp his character and what he wanted. Like, what was his character arc?
I think what you had with Johnny was someone who is the person who feels like he least fits into the family, so he's trying to prove a point. Because if you think about the movie, he's trying to get Reed to build their suits again because he wants to be out there doing the thing that they're all meant to be doing. If you think about what he does in terms of, he almost willingly sacrifices himself for Franklin. If you think about the fact that Sue mentions about their family being dysfunctional as children, I think that's what they're trying to do with it. He's even trying to prove to Reed, even though he doesn't imply it throughout the movie, he's trying to prove to Reed that he is capable of being part of this team by decoding those messages. Yeah,
and give me more of that. Give me that. Like, it's the same with The Thing. There was these
implied moments.
But. And I don't want to be spoon-fed, don't get me wrong.
No.
I don't want it on a platter and go, Johnny's doing this. But, like, it was all touched upon but never explored. And I kind of really wanted character, because it felt like they felt like a family, don't get me wrong. They didn't feel like a team to me.
Which is weird, because usually you get the opposite, right? Usually you get the team vibe, but you don't necessarily get a family vibe. And I think that works when you're dealing with something like the Avengers. But and
do you know who did it better?
Go ahead.
The Incredibles.
Well, that's what a lot of people are saying, right? Which is hilarious, because The Incredibles is essentially a parody of Fantastic Four, down to like the Underminer, right? Like the Underminer is meant to be like the version of Mole Man, right? Like down to like even Syndrome is sort of Doctor Doom-esque.
Yeah.
You know, so it's kind of hilarious.
But it. The Incredibles felt like an emotional family that you were connected to, and you cared about them because they had this, they had the expo at the beginning.
Yeah.
Where superheroes are no longer allowed to be superheroes and blah, blah, blah. And they had all that expo. But then you also had that Mr. Incredible's story is he wants to be a superhero again. Yeah. You know that Dash's suit thing, he wants to be able to run fast. And you've got all these, and Elastigirl's story is that she wants to keep her family. You've got all these character arcs and what they want. Johnny in this film, it was a bit like, until he was talking about the suits, I was like, okay, I don't really, he's a bit goofy, great. I do miss him being the cocky hothead.
Yeah, I
do miss that. I'll say it. I think Chris Evans did a better job. But I wasn't sure what he wanted. Why does he want to go out to space? Why is he so obsessed with decoding these messages? Yes, he wants to prove himself. Give me that. Give me that emotion from it, because I also didn't get the emotion when his sister died. He was just kind of like knelt down.
I didn't get the emotion of that full stop, to be honest. Like, don't get me wrong, I think it looked quite. I know you said about Franklin, but I think the scene itself was quite. Like, I remember the moment, and I know you're saying about, but when he was laid on her chest and she's like, the cinema went quiet, and I actually really enjoyed that moment. But
that was good.
But I actually thought, why are they looking at her and not instantly running to her or screaming or shouting? They all just looked at her.
Yeah.
And just walked over.
Said to her. Yeah, like your sister, your wife, and Reed had the most emotional reaction to it, which is great. But like Johnny, I was like, does he not give a fuck?
I actually really like the Reed part of that. And I know we're talking about Johnny, but I actually really like the Reed part of that because it fundamentally shows, and this is something that is so important to his character in a very similar way to Superman and Lois have that as well. Kind of sorry to bring that in, but I think that's important, that Superman can turn into a bad guy when someone he cares about so much is taken from him. And you could see how Reed would just fall apart if he didn't have Sue. And you can see that in that moment. Whereas I don't think Johnny, and you're right, for someone who has lost his mother, for someone who had a father who wasn't necessarily the best, you'd think that what the last person he had in his life, especially when he was just willing to sacrifice himself for her son.
Yeah.
You think he'd be a little bit more distraught.
For a character that is usually very... He's a very... Not emotional as in, like... He's got very temperate emotions. You think he would have fucking exploded in fire and like done something, but he just kind of knelt down and stared at her, and I was like... There was no tears. There was, and don't get me wrong, fucking people grieve in their own ways. And
some people grieve by just like totally like
shock. Maybe he was in shock, but after it was sort of like confirmed that she was dead, he didn't move. There was nothing, and it didn't feel like he was in shock. It just felt like he was just knelt there.
Do you know what I think?
That's what like the awkwardness comes into it with me, and he just I never understood what he was feeling at any point.
Do you know what I think would have done it really well at this point? There's 3 points in the movie where they could have just added one line of dialogue and it would have showed a different side to Johnny. And it's exactly what you're talking about. And it's every time he flew off after Charlemagne. And if they shouted after him and kind of said, "What are you doing? Stop! You're going to like get yourself killed," or something like that. But it was always nonchalant. It was always like, "Oh, like just go off and do your thing." He's literally shooting off into space on his own, and you guys are like, you guys can't. Yeah, no one said, "Johnny, what the fuck are you doing?" Like, you know what I mean? Like
it seemed like no one cared.
Or they sort of were like telling him to do it, and I feel like if they wouldn't do that in my head. Those characters.
So I have a slight different opinion on that. At a certain point, it's when he attacks Galactus unprovoked. Not unprovoked, but he attacks Galactus. I liked that because they didn't stop him, they didn't call for him, they just went, "Cool, we're doing this," and then and that to me
that
was like,
was good. Because it's Galactus, he's going to like
team.
literally try and take the child. I get that.
Yeah, and they're an established team, so they don't really need to communicate verbally to say, "I'm going to do this." "Oh, cool, I'm going to do this." They kind of just like meshed together and did what they needed to do. Johnny's distraction, they all started running. You know, it worked for that moment. But like you said, she starts flying away. Either say Johnny, and then he goes after her, or when he goes, they go, "What are you doing?" Just a little line.
And those small things make such a difference, right? Implied dialogue is so good.
That he's reckless.
Because one of my favorite scenes in the movie, actually, and sorry again, it's aside from Johnny because it's just coming in my head. One of my favorite scenes in the movie is that moment where Reed spends a moment alone with Franklin, and he says about something's always been wrong with me. And actually, that was probably the most powerful scene in the movie for me, actually.
Yeah, but I needed more moments like that with the other characters.
Yeah. That's exactly what... If you had moments like that with... And I almost feel like the baby is a really good vessel to do that because you can admit stuff to a child that you can't admit to anyone else because they don't know what you're talking about. And I almost wish they'd kind of had that a little bit more. You are right. I think you get that kind of...
Yeah, do you know what? Give me a short scene with each of them with their baby. Have Zuko's fucking adventure with each of them. Have the baby be what like sort of like gets them all to open up a little bit in their own stories. You know, like the Thing can sit there and go, "Wow, you're not scared of me," or you don't really care. look, do you? That's that's something nice. And then have Johnny go in, just have, I don't fucking know his story because I don't think he's got a character arc. I don't think his character changes from the beginning to the end, other than the fact he learned language.
Feel like, and do you know what I feel like would have been really good if we'd saw, and again, I'm adding another scene to the beginning of the movie, but like if they discussed in that ABC presentation, and I know obviously it would have been sanitized to a degree, but after the tragic loss of their parents, and like and kind of build up that sense of like Johnny feels like he lost one family, and so he's trying to prove himself in this other, like we just said before, in kind of implying that like Johnny will do anything for this child because Sue having a child means so much to him. And you get that in that first scene where he finds out she's pregnant, but like I feel like if they pushed that a little bit further and made it about to him, life, like one thing that I found very important about the Superman movie is that Superman was saving everyone because he couldn't literally cope with the fact that his planet died and he couldn't have done anything about it. Yeah. And so throughout the rest of the movie, he is trying to save every single person possible because he doesn't want anyone to die. That human lives are important to him because of what happened to his planet. And I feel like if you kind of did the reverse of that and said Johnny lost his mother and he knows how that feels, and so he doesn't want any of the planet to have to experience, like the planet to experience that kind of level of loss, and he doesn't want
Franklin to experience that. He doesn't want Franklin to lose his mother. Yes, it's his sister anyway, so he's got that attachment. But then we go back to having the conflict with the people. Johnny Storm standing in front of the Baxter building with a wall of fire. Like step forward. He becomes this. We can have this. Like,
he becomes the protector
do whatever it takes. To stop you all, and I don't care about you. I only care about my
family.
Making a bit selfish. I only care about Franklin and my sister. Don't even care. Like, he's lost a little bit of sight of Reed, and I just want to fight.
Yeah,
and I'll and then at the end of the film, when all of a sudden he does just randomly want to sacrifice himself, that came out of fucking nowhere. It's then. Like, oh, now he's doing the last thing he knows.
He's doing the thing he needs to do to protect his family, but also the world at the same time. Yeah.
And
yeah.
I think to incorporate some of these scenes, there's definitely one thing they could have taken out because they didn't give a fuck about it, is the subterranean stuff.
Yeah, like I think that is a I think that is a holdover from a previous version of the movie. Essentially, it felt like they had to keep it because they knew they couldn't get rid of. They couldn't just say that all the people were still in their buildings because they knew that the planet was like Galactus was coming to attack the planet. But because of that,
evacuate everyone in Superman.
Oh yeah, why not? But where I guess I'm getting at is that I think because of that, Subterranea was used for that in an earlier like part of the plot.
Yeah.
And so because of that, they couldn't really get rid of it. Even though I think that would have been like, if you got rid of that, like that, you'd have saved yourself about 7 minutes of film time that you could have used for something else.
Yeah, they 100% like didn't need. Yes, they were running out of time and everything. I know it's not easy to evacuate an entire city in that time. Blah 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 blah. But like there were several scenes of them talking to the Underminer and talking about Subterranean, showing people under the ground and it didn't give the fear that they wanted from it when they're all looking up and the ground is shaking. And
considering that Superman did the same thing a week earlier and did it much better.
Yeah. And that's what's really partly letting this movie down, is the fact that Superman came out a week earlier. And
I do think that. I do think I do fundamentally, because like this month has been a big month for movies, like Jurassic World and then these two. But like Jurassic World wasn't in competition with these two; it was separate.
No.
But like these two are in competition, and the fact is, James Gunn was not going to let Superman fall to Fantastic Four, and I think they underestimated that to an extent, and they played it safe when they should have played it up instead.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. They like we've said many times, they should have had that conflict. They should have had those dark moments, and they definitely should have lost.
Or if not lost, struggled a bit more. at the very least.
Struggled. Oh god, where was the struggle? Where was any struggle in this film?
The only struggle was Sue with Galactus at the end, essentially,
and that's her giving birth. That's a struggle.
Can I say something about that though? And I think that's what I actually really liked as a positive piece of imagery versus when they've used it in the older Fantastic Four movies, like the Jessica Alba ones. They used invisibility to sexualize Sue.
Oh yeah, I really like the fact that she can just make her without her having to be a special material.
Yeah,
and when she's not in those clothes, she's naked.
Yeah, like but like in this version, it was about emotion. It was about anger. It was about even down to when she's giving birth and she loses control of her powers from one. It's about her struggle in a very different way to
part of it.
You know. Yeah, exactly.
It was part of it. It wasn't this affliction that she had to. She became the Invisible Woman.
Yeah,
and I actually quite. We'll focus more on some positives now because I think we've
kind of slated the movie a little bit. Yeah,
a little bit. I really enjoy the Silver Surfer surfing.
Yes, really good shots.
Really good shots, and I was like, do you know what? She's called the Silver Surfer. It makes sense that she's surfing the fucking cosmic waves that they're and the black hole and all this. I love it.
And actually, when she moves into their
ship, but she's flying. When
she moves into their ship, it looked so like, and the fact that she's got these very subtle movements. She doesn't move much, actually. If you look at it, she doesn't move much at all. And when she does,
she didn't look like a PNG.
Yeah,
just being dragged across the screen.
But like it gave that perfect sense of like someone who's purged themselves of their emotions because she doesn't want to feel what's happened, and she you know, down to like the words that she says when she's giving that blessing, and you know it's like everything's about her not having to deal with the guilt of what she's done.
She's a fucking mirror. She's reflecting everything away, and nothing is. She just bounces it all off and doesn't care, or she's pretending she doesn't care. But that moment you actually see the rage out of her, that's why that mattered so much, right? Because you portray a character in a certain way throughout the movie, and then in that moment she is so rage filled, sorrow filled, however you want to describe it, and she just zooms off. She needs to be out of there, right? She can't deal with it. Her trauma response is basically activated, and I also think we could have done with a scene, and I think this would have actually it would have dealt with the same thing as you.
It would have dealt with a comment that has been made about the male Silver Surfer, and I think also if it would have also given her more emotional depth if you saw more regards her planet, just a little bit. And what I mean by that is not necessarily a whole scene. But like, if you'd seen him fully take her away from her planet and seeing the people see her go and kind of have something kind of be like what was trying to be done to Franklin, but in real time, if you're seeing that, right? I think that would have been like, and if you'd had Norrin Radd, who is, so in the comics, Shalabal is not just a female Silver Surfer, she is the wife of the Silver Surfer, right? So if you'd had made it very clear that this is an alternate world by that happening, and she goes instead of him or something like that, I think that could have added a little bit of emotional depth as well, because you see that child, but that child is not relevant to us in any way, really, because we don't know
decisions. We know it's obviously her decision, but like we don't get, because we didn't. It was all
implied. It's all implied.
Everything was implied,
and I don't dislike that. I don't dislike the fact that this universe is implied to a degree. I think it's just too much implied. Because I don't want to be spoon-fed. And I think so many Marvel movies have spoon-fed us. And I think having something where you have to think about it a little bit more to see that depth is not a bad thing, but I think it's too much in this movie.
And I also think, it just popped in my head there, is because obviously Sue Storm doesn't become the main character really until she's pushing Galactus, and she's becoming the hero. If they could have, instead of just a family film, they could have really focused on mother and child, and what a mother would do to protect
and
her
could have
child.
like paralleled Shalabal with
It's a parallel there, yeah. It's an easy parallel to hit. And instead of Johnny running out and playing that music, or the music, the recordings, not Sue doing that, but have that happen, and then Silver Surfer still goes to Franklin and have the conversation between a mother and a mother, the two mothers. And,
yeah, okay.
You know, I will do whatever it takes to protect my child. Yeah, I did that too. I understand, but
I must do what I must do.
I still have to protect my child because my planet is still in danger. Well, you know what? I'm going to do whatever it takes to, and then you've got this conflict of mothers protecting their children.
Yeah.
And who's gonna go the furthest?
Yeah, exactly.
And then Sue Storm kills herself. She would rather die than let her child be taken, whereas Silver Surfer would rather kill other people than let her child die.
I feel if you'd
and then they get that, you know.
Yeah, I feel if you'd seen Shalabal see Sue collapse, understand the cost that she's paid, and then decide to sacrifice herself to push Galactus back to the portal. That would have been really cool and a really good emotional moment, because you understand that Shalabal has just basically, through their kind of shared bond of motherhood, so to speak, has done the same thing. She's actually saved her world and theirs, so to speak.
Sacrifice herself to save her child, and that's what a mother would do. And I think that's what... Because most of the film is the film getting started, and you don't see Shalabal until midway through what it felt like, because it felt like fucking ages. Yeah. I think that's what, like you said, about having Galactus at the start of the film, and then a bit of Shalabal with her daughter, and you know, her. What would you do to save your child?
I feel like if you didn't want to rehash the origin story, you should have done something that built the universe out. You know.
Give me a Silver Surfer origin story.
Yeah, I actually think that would have been a really cool way to start the film. It actually is just like the Silver Surfer, like the Galactus scene into Galactus looking over her planet. You pan down to her planet at the end of that kind of Galactus monologue at the beginning, so to speak. And you see her taken by Galactus to be his herald, and you see the planet basically mourning her loss, because they did. And knowing what she must do, and you see 2 or 3 planets get destroyed. Do you know what it reminds me of, actually, now that I'm thinking about it? What they did with Gore the God Butcher in Love and Thunder. And what they did was they told you he was killing gods. They didn't really show you it. And we saw him destroy one planet, but I feel like if you'd seen him just go on a tirade, sort of like Thanos in Endgame,
that film should have been darker for whatever it was.
Yeah,
anyway.
I think you could have had, like, you know, you're dealing with a very powerful cosmic entity, and it kind of felt like they were a little bit. Like, and don't get me wrong, I still think he felt grandiose.
Oh, he felt great. I
think he could have felt even more. You know, Galactus is meant to show up on a panel in a comic, and you're meant to go, "Oh shit!" And I didn't feel like I got the "oh shit" moment. You know?
No, yeah, and you see his ship flying towards the planet, and you go, "Okay."
Yeah, because you kind of know.
I already know. Yeah, I don't need this warning every 2 minutes that he's on his way. I think
Thunderbolts did something negative towards this movie in a way, though, as well. Not Thunderbolts as regards
after credit scene.
The after credit scene. I think I'd have almost preferred them. And don't get me wrong, that scene actually evoked a lot of emotion in me, that post credit scene. But did it tamper this movie for me a little bit? Once I got into it, yeah. Not necessarily before it, because I was thinking, oh, they're going to this is going to be part of the movie, but it didn't actually turn out that way.
Because most of this movie, because of that after credit scene, you're waiting for the moment the Fantastic Four leave to get to our planet,
and it doesn't happen.
No, so I think that's part of the disappointment, is when you are sat there. Yeah, cool. So when are they? Oh, they all destroyed all the teleporters, so maybe they'll just leave with Franklin.
Yeah.
No. Okay. After credit scene? No? Okay. You're waiting.
Yeah. It would almost be interesting if they had done the teleporter thing, as I said before, and they went to the negative zone. Yeah. And somehow got stuck there, and like they need to find a way out.
They could have done Ant-Man ending.
Yeah.
Ant-Man 2 ending, where all of a sudden
Stuck.
the snap happened and they're stuck somewhere.
Yeah.
There's a lot they could have done with it, and I think that's the biggest issue with this film is there's a lot they could have done.
Yeah.
And what they did do was not much.
I think my thing is I usually come away from a movie that I like going not many notes to have. Like Superman last week, I didn't really have many notes per se. This, I have so many notes because I like it, but I wanted to love it,
Yeah.
And I don't think I do. I don't think I hate it. I don't think I dislike the cast, and I definitely want a sequel. But yeah, you know what I mean? Like, I think it's like, it was okay. It was okay.
Do you know what I want? A prequel.
yeah, you might be right on that
film, man.
You might be right on that.
Like, I genuinely came out going, I feel like I've seen a sequel film I haven't seen.
Yeah.
I think
that's true of a lot of people, actually. I think a lot of people are saying that. But
it just having the entire first film done as exposition is, number one, lazy. Exposition is always lazy. I think there's time for it, yes, but
it depends on how you do it.
An easy way to skip through not having to write.
The same thing happened with the Superman movie a week before. Again, just to clarify, same thing. They did exposition at the beginning of that movie, and they did it in such a way that actually was built tension as you were going 3,000 years, 300 years, 3 years, 3 hours ago, 3 minutes ago.
3 minutes. Yeah.
And you go, and like it ramps up, right? It's like the Star Wars opening crawl. It's the same thing. Yeah. You're kind of being transported through space as you're learning about what happens in this movie. Yeah. And so, like, if they needed to utilize it better, and don't get me wrong, I like the way they presented it, but I think they could have done it. If you'd moved into that 10 minutes in after doing a scene about again, the Galactus sort of suggested scene would have been really cool, and then go into something like that. And I think you could have kind of gotten away with it if it was a smaller segment.
Yeah. You know what? Do you know what? I think that little exposition bit at the beginning should have been the trailer. Give us that before the movie. Give us the short narrative. Because then that would get some. Because when you see that, you go, "Oh my god, cool! They did the monkeys, haha, that's great."
Yeah.
But like, if you'd watched that before the film, you would have been way more excited to go, because that has nothing to do with the film. That is just expo.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. So if the trailer was kind of the trailer, like
special,
almost like, and what you could have done is, and this would have kind of been a kind of very cool meta commentary, because like, for example, when you were watching the Superman movie, there was ads targeted at the fact it was a Superman movie. You could have had an ad, very much like how they ran Avatar before this movie. You could have had a targeted ad that was actually like, last time on Fantastic Four, and you could have had exactly what you just said, and explain all that before the movie, and it's like a primer. And you're exactly right. That would have been really cool, actually.
And then you start the film, and I think that would have been because I feel like it also was like there was a lot of introductions, because I don't know if you had that the IMAX trailer for Fantastic Four just before the film,
right?
And it was like you hear that theme song a million times before the actual movie starts, and then the movie starts, and then you have the expo, so the movie hasn't. Yeah, and then you have the discussion about them being pregnant, and it was okay. So the plot hasn't, and then oh cool, hour later, Silver Surfer's popping down. I don't actually know the timing.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Like an hour later, a Silver Surfer's popping down, and you go, okay, cool. Is the story started yet? And they go, okay, cool. Right, he wants the child. Okay, kind of. Now the movie started. It just every half an hour it felt like the movie was starting.
You could have even made it, and what you could have done is really actually, and I think this would have been even more interesting, is if you if you do the primer version like you've just said. What would be so interesting is if you do sort of that intro scene of Star Wars where you see the Silver Surfer as like what the Tantive 4 would be. And you see Galactus coming in behind, and she's explaining what is all happening. And then he's at the planet, and he's just there. And like the movie is just constant like action from the go. And they're trying to find these quiet moments in this time, but like Galactus is here, and they're trying to find a way to stop him. Like there and now, you do the teleport a bit, and he's still coming, but like they're away, and they have to keep teleporting across the galaxy to get away from him. And like you could do all these cool segments, right? And if you wanted to kind of do it over time, like they did with this movie, where there's a month that passes whilst they're in space. Because did you get that? Did you understand that there was a month that it took them a month to get back to Earth?
I actually went back to I went to the toilet at that moment, and I came back, and Lily said they named the baby Franklin, and the space from.
Yeah, yeah, so it's a month later.
Missed my son. But so that was the only time I knew there was a time difference between then and every time they were like researching. The only indicator of time passing was the thing's beard.
Yeah, and you know what? Right, I usually when it's Star Wars, I hate how fast they do time, like space travel, because I really dislike the fact that, like, in the Star Wars books and the old Star Wars canon, space travel is meant to take a long fucking time, right? It's meant to take a week to get from one planet to the other, and people do it in like 2 minutes in Star Wars, in the movies. But in this, I think it should have been faster. I think it should have felt like Galactus is going to be on you at any freaking moment. And it didn't.
Not like, we have like several years.
We have all this time to build these things that we need to build. Like,
that's what I don't get. How long were they doing that for? Because the baby didn't change at all.
No,
it looked exactly the same. So, like, was it a month? Was it 5 months? Because the thing, his beard is supposed to grow really slowly as well, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's supposed to be because it's rock.
Yeah.
Like, so I was like, wow, okay, so it's been like maybe a year or so, and then I'm like, no, because the baby looks exactly the same. So maybe it's not. And then they say at the end of the film, don't they? Oh, you can't get up on his own.
Yeah.
Well, that's only a few months.
He was only about 5 by the time of that post-credit scene.
Yeah.
So like 4 or 5.
It didn't feel like much time passed before Galactus got there, but also loads of time passed before Galactus got there, and I was just really unsure of the time scale, because they said I don't know if they said 1 month later, but I just feel like
what they said was it was something like a month since the Fantastic Four launched into space or something like that.
Oh right, just a bit of expo then. I'm getting lazy. Give us title cards 1 month later, 2 years later.
Yeah,
give us that time frame.
Yeah,
or even better, boom, 6 months till Galactus arrives.
Yeah, like a countdown. Yeah, that would have been really cool.
And then, then we know how long.
I feel like that's for a movie that is meant to be about the anticipation of basically something like a solar array, a comet hitting Earth or a solar flare or whatever, right? It doesn't feel like there's a natural disaster coming to Earth, at points. But yeah, I think overall, the reason I'm so critical of this movie, and I do want to kind of go back to this, is because I wanted to love it so much, and because I do like it. I think that's my issue. Is that if this was I've come in and I've reviewed movies before, and it's taken me 12 minutes because like it's basically okay. I'll say stuff like it's basically okay. It's a popcorn movie, and I'll move on with my life. But this movie, I didn't want to move on with my life. I wanted to be obsessed for 3 weeks, and I don't think I am. And
I wanted a movie I'd go see again, and I wouldn't go see that again.
Yeah, I would watch it later, but not like
fuck all happened. So I remember every moment of that film because not much happened.
Yeah, you didn't have to like. There's nothing to miss either, really.
Yeah. I think maybe 6.57 after discussing it. I think I've realized there's more bits I didn't like.
Yeah, I think maybe sort of 7-ish for me. I want to like it so much. I think it's the best characterization of these characters. It just needed a few more scenes. It just needed a few more scenes that were emotionally driven.
It was a really surface level film for such a. And there's such a message with Galactus of like your entire planet is gonna be destroyed. Okay, so like what are the everyday people thinking of that? Are they spending the time with their loved one? Are they going about everyday life because they care? Because that's real life at the moment. There is all this stuff happening. There's all these wars going on that we're always on the brink of a fucking third world, World War III, nuclear end of the world war sort of thing. So, like, what do the everyday people do about the end of the world?
Yeah.
And are they rioting and looting and doing whatever the fuck they want because they think they're gonna die? No, they're just seemingly they're all helping out. Everything's fine. Everything's good. We're all happy as Larry.
I kind of almost wish you'd seen riots happening and stuff like that, and the Fantastic Four having to put them down. And the popularity of them waning because of it. They have to do it because it's the only way they can stop what's coming from happening, but like with it, their popularity is decreasing. You know,
and I like obviously they set it up earlier on that Reed Richards had kept an eye on all the crime syndicates or whatever, and he got rid of them all in one go. There's no more crime, whatever.
Like,
fine.
Yeah, okay.
All right, I'll believe that. But like, have these, they're the only superheroes, right? According to everything, that's what we think. That's what it's. So when bad things are going down, and they have to deal with these, but they're also trying to figure out the problem of Galactus, and people being criminals isn't helping. Do they then go, cool, let's ignore crime?
Yeah, and basically just certain parts of the world get fucked, basically.
Yeah, and just concentrate on the bigger problem. And then that also adds to, the Fantastic Four don't care about us anymore. They're selfish. They've stopped helping out the little folk. They let's get the baby and save ourselves, because they won't do it because they're not even stopping the everyday crime. And there's more moral stuff that they could have really pushed. And like you said, I think they played it safe. And I don't think it helped. I don't think it worked for them.
No. Again, I want a sequel. Again, I'm excited to see what happens in Doomsday. And don't get me wrong, I did gasp a gusp when I saw Doctor Doom. But yeah, I don't know. I just think I'm kind of at the point where I want the reset. Like, and I'm the biggest Marvel fan going. Like, I really am. But like, I just think we're at a point now where let's get Secret Wars out there. Let's get get Doomsday and Secret Wars, and let's get back to the start.
I just want them to hurry up and get it over with. And that's awful to think. Like,
it
used
is
to be excited for these films,
but I think I want
excited for it.
I think because. Really, Disney had a change of sort of ethos after Endgame, and that's really what did Marvel in, and Star Wars to a degree too. But Disney changed its ethos. It wanted to pump out content for Disney Plus, and it wanted to do all that. And because of that, I think you find that what happened is the quality obviously, of course, waned. And so what you end up with in like, and also the Kang situation didn't help either. But what with Jonathan Majors obviously is what I'm getting at.
But then they try and play off as if they were. We
didn't want it anyway.
We always wanted
of course you did. Of course you didn't. But like the thing is, so it became such a mess, and they're trying to dig themselves out of it, but it's taking too long. It wasn't just a mess for like 2 movies. It's been a mess for like 4 years, 5 years. So like, that's why I want the reset, because I think the reset is going to fundamentally go, right, this is a new starting point. It's exactly what DC is doing currently, and look how that's working for them. That's what we need for Marvel now, in my opinion.
Just jump into a point. We don't need origin stories for a lot of characters. We don't need a lot of stuff.
We just need a new world.
We just need a new world, and then start with a Spider-Man movie, and he wants to be an Avenger, and we've got the established Avengers now, and then he knows about the Avengers. Let him team up with Moon Knight for this one, and then we've got Moon Knight in it. There's just discussions about characters rather than bringing them all in. We can just talk about them and
be more sensible in how they're treating these projects that they're making. And I think they are. I think they're doing that now. But it's a little bit too late for this saga, and I think they just need to end it and start fresh. The fact that they've got the guy on they've got the guy who did Thunderbolts on for the X-Men movie. I can see that going well.
And that's character. The Thunderbolts was all about character. I felt attached to most,
and they were all relevant. They were all relevant to that story. I know Yelena was the main character, but like everyone was sort of given a part.
They had a part. They had their moment to shine.
Yeah. So we have been talking for an hour and 40 minutes, which is probably one of the longest episodes of the podcast. But I think that's relevant because the Fantastic Four.
You can chop it in half.
Well, I'm not chopping it in half. I'm not chopping it in half. You guys can watch it or die. But I think with this one, if you made it this far, congratulations. But I think for me, it was fundamentally important for me to have a Fantastic Four is my favorite Marvel team. I love them. So I had to sit here and discuss them to death. So I really appreciate you coming in and doing that, Nate. I think we've had a really good chat and really kind of broke the film apart, and almost to the same run length of the movie, which is insane. We might as well have just made the movie ourselves at this point.
I feel like we've had more character development than the characters have done.
But yeah, so Nate, thank you for joining. Obviously, hopefully you come on again at some point where we've got another movie to discuss or the like. In the meantime, guys, thank you for listening and watching it as always. I'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye.